Hi guys, welcome back to the Home and Homestead. If you're new, I'm Rebecca. Today we're going to be doing some freeze drying. We're going to freeze dry some eggnog. Now eggnog is a wonderful beverage to enjoy during the holiday season and during the cooler winter months. But when you freeze dry it and create a powder, then you can enjoy this wonderful eggnog flavor throughout the year. You can add it to beverages and milkshakes, sprinkle it over ice cream, or maybe add it to some baked goods or whipped cream to give that wonderful eggnog flavor. And today's video is part of a collaboration for Freeze-Dried February. So be sure to check out all of the videos included in the collaboration. I'll have a playlist in the description below the video. Now let's head over to the kitchen so we can get our eggnog prepared and have it pre-frozen before it gets put into the freeze dryer for making some freeze-dried eggnog. So the first thing that we're going to want to do for preparing our eggnog before it goes into the freeze dryer is we're going to pre-freeze it. Meaning we're going to get the eggnog onto our trays and get it into the freezer. We're going to freeze it for at least 48 hours. So I have a couple of cartons of eggnog left over from the holidays. And they're both non-alcoholic. You want to make sure you use an eggnog that is non-alcoholic when putting it into the freeze dryer. And to each of these trays, I have a medium pro Harvest Right freeze dryer, so I have 5 trays here. I'm going to add about 2 to 2.5 cups of the eggnog. You want to fill the trays no more than 2/3 full. Now we have all of our freeze dryer trays filled with about 2.5 cups of eggnog each. Now what we're going to do is pre-freeze this eggnog in the freezer for at least 48 hours. And this will help cut down on the processing time inside of the freeze dryer itself. Now whenever I'm doing a liquid, I do like to use my Harvest Right tray lids. These are great little plastic covers that snap right onto your trays. That way, your trays stack up really nicely inside of your freezer. So I'll get these tray lids put onto each of these freeze dryer trays here. Snap them into place. And now we can get our freeze dryer trays all filled with our eggnog into the freezer and pre-freeze them for at least 48 hours. Then we'll come back for the next step, which will be programming our freeze dryer and getting this eggnog freeze dried. Alright, so now that our eggnog has been pre-freezing on the trays in the freezer for at least 48 hours, now we can get it into the freeze dryer and get our freeze dryer programmed. So here I have my Harvest Right Medium Pro freeze dryer with the pump off to the right. And if you have the Wi-Fi fob, which you see just to the right of the screen, you can use the Harvest Right app to program in your settings for doing your freeze-dried eggnog. But I'll show you the settings that you can program your freeze dryer. So first what you want to do is press Custom. In initial freeze you can do -10 degrees Fahrenheit. For extra freeze you can do between 1 to 2 hours. I'll leave it at 2 hours. And dry temperature, we'll set this to 115 degrees Fahrenheit. Dry mode is normal. So then we'll press start. Now the freeze dryer will go into a 15-minute preparation cycle, which is the perfect time for us to go gather up our pre-frozen eggnog on the trays so we can load them in. Now that the freeze dryer has finished its initial 15-minute process, we'll need to do 3 things. 1, we're going to load the trays into the freeze dryer. 2, we're going to close that drain valve. And 3, we'll hit continue. So now let's load our pre-frozen eggnog into our freeze dryer. And now we'll close the drain valve. So currently it's open, so the valve is parallel to the drain. In order to close it, we'll just simply put that valve perpendicular. And now it's closed. Next we'll hit continue. So now the freeze dryer is doing its thing, and we'll come back once it is finished freeze drying our eggnog. All right, so now we're in about 4 minutes left of that extra dry time that we programmed in. So you can either arrow down to finish out the time, or you can hit end batch. And now what we need to do is open that drain valve to vent, and then we can open our door and check and see if our eggnog has been freeze dried and if it's ready to come out. If not, we can hit the middle button, which is more dry time, and get the freeze dryer drying longer to get the result that we want. So first I'm going to open that drain valve. And now that the drain valve is open, I can open the door and check out our freeze-dried eggnog. And it's nice and freeze-dried. So now all we need to do is allow our freeze dryer to defrost. We can hit no defrost, and we just open the door and allow the freeze dryer to defrost naturally, or we can hit the defrost button and the system will go through its own defrosting and heating, and it'll drain away all the ice that's in the chamber. So I'm going to hit defrost so that it can do its own cycle. Now it tells us to keep that drain valve open, remove our product from the dryer, close the door, and then I'll hit continue, and it'll do a 2-hour defrost time, and I can always add more time or decrease it as necessary with the arrows on the screen. So now let's remove our freeze-dried eggnog, and I'll hit continue. So now the freeze dryer will defrost itself. Let's go have a closer look at our freeze-dried eggnog. We'll process it a little bit so we can store it away. We'll go over how we like to use our freeze-dried eggnog throughout the year. Well, here we have our freeze-dried eggnog in our 5 trays. And this is the perfect time to prepare some freeze-dried eggnog powder. And I like to use a smaller food processor. This is a little prep processor, because then I have a little more control over the texture and size of the powder. You could also use your full-size food processor if you'd like. And when I'm doing powders and things like this, it's kind of handy to use a bowl with some measuring lines on the sides. Then once you're finished creating your powder, you know what size container you'll need for storing. So let me just set some of these trays aside and we can begin processing our freeze-dried eggnog so we can make some eggnog powder. Here we go, a nice uniform powder here for our freeze-dried eggnog. So So let me continue to clear off these trays. Using a plastic or silicone spatula works nicely. Just to loosen it off of the tray. I'll continue processing these trays of freeze-dried eggnog. Alright, here we have our eggnog that we freeze-dried. We were able to make a beautiful, soft and smooth powder with this. And we have about 8 cups of that eggnog powder. So now we'll be able to add some great eggnog flavor throughout the year. We can add this to beverages and milkshakes, maybe sprinkle it over some ice cream or add it to baked goods. Plus, it's a great way to prevent waste if you have some left over from during the holiday season, or if you were able to purchase some after the holidays when it goes on a great sale. This is a wonderful way to preserve that eggnog so you can use it in different ways. Now, I like to store my freeze-dried powders in airtight containers. You can either do like a clamp top jar lid like this, or a nice sealing canister. You could also use some mason jars. You can either use the plastic leak-proof lids, or you could use the traditional lid and ring that comes with the mason jars, and they have devices that you can stick on top and that'll vacuum seal and create a nice closure for your mason jar. That works wonderfully for freeze-dried items. You can open the jar, take what you need and close it, and reseal it with the vacuum sealer. So there's multiple options you can use for storing this. You can also put this in mylar bags as well and seal them up. But I like to have them in a more accessible jar style fashion so that we can remove just a scoop or two and use it throughout the year like I spoke about earlier. So I hope you enjoyed our time together while we made this freeze-dried eggnog today using some leftover eggnog from the holidays. And today's video is part of a collaboration for Freeze-Dried February. So please be sure to check out all the different videos included with this year's collaboration. I'll have a link in the description below the video with this year's complete playlist. And then be sure to head over to the host channel, the Inquisitive Farmwife, because we'll be having some weekly live sessions on Fridays. And during those Friday live sessions, you'll be able to win prizes. And I'll be contributing a 50 pack of Harvest Right oxygen absorbers, but there'll be some other great prizes as well. And then at the end of the month, we'll be having a grand prize for a free Harvest Right small freeze dryer. So be sure to check out all the videos and sessions for this year's Freeze-Dried February collaboration, and I hope you enjoy all the videos. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out some of my other videos as well. I have a playlist on freeze drying and various food preservation methods, as well as recipes and organization with some home decor. So be sure to check out some of my other videos as well. And if you're new to the channel or haven't done so yet, I'd really appreciate it if you would subscribe. So be sure to hit that subscribe button below the video if you haven't done so yet. And continue to watch my channel, The Home and Homestead, for some more homemade, homegrown, and home style inspiration. But I hope you're having a wonderful day and you enjoy this year's Freeze-Dried February collaboration. See you next time. Take care.